What does qualia mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's my favorite word because it really refers to something I think it's so important and so overlooked. The easiest way I have found to describe what the word means is to remind people if, when they were kids, they ever wondered, is the blue that I see the same blue that other people see? Uh, and this is kind of a challenging question, right? Because imagine that like the mapping between, you know, um, frequencies of light to the feeling of the color that you experience was different. Would you be able to, figure that out with conversation? Not necessarily, right? Because all that you can really say in order to distinguish a color from another is just what is the relationship it has to other colors. And if the network of relationship between colors has some symmetries, then actually it's might be impossible to actually tell, like, are we seeing the same blue, the both of us? And but qualia is a much more general term. So the blueness of blue would be a particular quale, an individual kind of like facet or quality of experience. But smells, tactile sensations, the way thoughts feel, not the sensory input that triggers it, but rather the way in which it presents itself within your experience. So that is qualia. So the Qualia Research Institute essentially investigates uh, properties of qualia. What is the network of relationships between qualia? What is the space of possible qualia? The ways in which they can be put together and create experiences. What makes qualia feel good or bad? So all of those is kind of topics are within the purview of our research paradigms.
I appreciate that explanation. So it's, I guess, kind of one way to think about it is qualia creates their subjective experience.
Yeah, I would even say something like qualia is the paint of our subjective experience. The
Nice.
thing with which our experience gets painted with.
I love the metaphor. And, one thing I've heard you talk about in other interviews that I thought was very interesting is this notion that people have a shape of consciousness.
Yes,
What do you mean by that?
absolutely. This is a super important concept. I've been thinking a lot about it for a long time, but the person who kind of like formalized that way of thinking was co-founder Mike Johnson. He wrote an amazing book called Principia Qualia in 2015. I recommend reading it. It's really good philosophy. And he defines this concept of qualia formalism. So qualia formalism is, okay, not only is qualia real, is the paint of our subjective experience, but more so, for any, given system that is generating an experience, what qualia formalism says is that there will correspond a mathematical object such that the features of that object are map onto or isomorphic to the features of our experience. In other words, that you can, in some way, find a mathematical model such that your experience right now is a configuration of that model in such a way that by analyzing the mathematical features of that mathematical model, you will infer things such as, are you feeling cold? Are you feeling warm? Do you feel like time is moving really fast? And things like that. And more concretely, like applied to kind of like one of the areas that we are really interested in, kind of like if you zoom in within qualia formalism, then we have valence structuralism, which is the idea that what makes an experience feel good or bad is one of those features, is one of those kind of mathematical structures within an experience.